Hey everyone, welcome to this workshop, Create a Project Plan with Google Sheets, hosted by Grow with Google. Grow with Google helps people grow their careers, skills, and businesses by offering free digital skills trainings and tools. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Basim, and I'm one of the trainers here at Grow with Google, and I'm so excited that you're here with us today. Today, I'll also be working with my co-instructor, Anna, who will be answering some of your questions at the end of the workshop. We want this to be as helpful as possible, so make sure to post your questions directly under this live stream video. We'll choose those top voted questions, so make sure to upvote your favorites. If you'd like to access additional resources for this class, click the Resources tab below the video player on the right-hand side. You'll also be able to access a replay of this virtual event by clicking On Demand on the Grow with Google On Air homepage. Also, don't forget to post and share on social using hashtag #GrowWithGoogle. Finally, you also have the option to turn on YouTube's closed captioning to follow along. To do so, click the closed captioning button directly below the video player on your screen. All right, let's get started. All right, so first we'll take a few minutes to talk about what project managers do and what kind of projects you might be interested in working on. We'll focus on some ways that project managers plan their work. Then we'll examine how you can make a project run more smoothly by tracking it in a spreadsheet. I will show you some tools you can use to manage multiple tasks, deadlines, and collaborators. We'll spend the bulk of our time learning how to plan the parts of your project and track those parts in a spreadsheet, because that's the step that makes up the majority of project management. About halfway through today's session, we'll go over some ways you can share your progress on the project. At the end, I'll direct you to some other resources you can use for project management. And I'll show you some additional digital tools you can use to design projects and keep them moving forward. If you're interested in building more complex project trackers in spreadsheets, then take our other workshop, Track Your Project with Google Sheets. Now, let's talk about what project management is. You may have seen job listings for a project manager, or maybe even report to someone whose job title is project manager or program manager. Project management is the way a person organizes the resources necessary to complete a project. Typically, project management involves these responsibilities: identifying work, planning it out, communicating with a team member and stakeholders, keeping things moving smoothly, delivering projects on time, and delivering projects within a set budget. But you don't have to be a professional project manager to use these steps. Anyone can use this process to make projects run more smoothly. From a birthday party to a yard sale, from a community fundraiser to a business conference. Some other kinds of projects you might manage include maybe you have a health or fitness plan, home improvements, childcare, product launches, job hunts, research, and event planning. You may already manage these kinds of projects before with or without digital tools. There are countless approaches to project management. It's a whole field. But for this workshop, we'll break up the process of managing a project into 3 broad steps: planning the project out, tracking it, and sharing the results. Today, I'm going to show you several digital tools that can help you with this process, including a project proposal and a presentation you can share project results. For the middle of the workshop, I'll demonstrate several processes in a spreadsheet, including designing of a project tracker and customizing it to suit your needs. We will talk about several specific skills you can use in a spreadsheet to help keep your project work on track, within budget and as well as up to date. First, let's talk about planning a project. A good project manager begins with project goals or an objective, right? No matter what kind of project you're working on, you can make it go smoothly by getting an idea of what your ideal project will look like when it's finished. This is an overview of what the project is and what its results should be. So step 1 in starting a new project is asking yourself, what do you want to do? You should probably have all kinds of thoughts about why you want to complete a project and what you hope to accomplish. To organize all these thoughts and ideas about your project, you can create a project proposal. A project proposal is a single document you can use to lay out the vision, aims, and motivations for a project. The image on the right shows a sample project proposal for a farm-to-table restaurant called Batch. Project proposals are useful for reminding yourself of what you need to get done, just as important, why you want to do it. The image on the right shows a Google Doc page with a completed project plan template. You can use a document like this to make sure you and any collaborators are on the same page. You can share it with a partner you're working with, for example, or even with a potential investor. You can write these out yourself in a format that you like, or you can use a template to design and coordinate your project goals, as well as your milestones, your deadlines, and even work with your collaborators. In a moment, I'll actually show you how to find project planning templates on Google Docs. All right, let's take a look at what some project proposals actually look like. But first, to begin, you need to sign into your Google account. Signing in is a bit like unlocking the door to your home. It's a process that makes sure only you can access your Google account. The image on this slide shows the steps you'll take to sign into your Google account. So open a new tab in the browser window and then go to google.com. If you're not signed in, you would click sign in, enter in your username, and then, of course, you put in your password. If you don't have a Google account, you can create one by clicking sign in, and then next you would click create account, and then follow the prompts to create your own account. Okay, so you've signed into your Google account. Now let's talk about accessing your Drive. First, you would open the Google Apps icon menu on the upper right-hand corner of your screen. This menu will show a list of all the Google apps that you have access to. Scroll down until you find Google Drive, and then you click on it. Your Drive icon may not be shown exactly where this one is. So just keep scrolling until you see it, and then once you see it, you can click on it to open your Google Drive. The image on this slide shows an example of a Google Drive, right? The Drive on this slide has a few documents in it. If you've never actually created anything with Google Apps before, yours may be empty. If you've created projects and Google applications, then they will all be stored here. You can use your Google Drive to create new projects, whether it's project planning files, or to keep working on the ones you've actually already created. We'll use Google Drive a few times in today's workshop to create some new projects. Like we said before, Google Docs provide templates that will get you started with planning your project. The image on the right shows a user creating a new project proposal from a template in Google Docs. A template is a sample document or other project that already has some of the formatting in place. Templates save us time and help your documents to look more professional. Google Docs has a whole template gallery, including several project proposal templates. If you like, you can explore these templates on your own. This image will show you how to open a project proposal template. First thing you would do is click New, and then from there, you would select Google Docs and from a template. Next, scroll down to the work templates and choose one of the project proposal templates by clicking it. We won't write a project plan today, but you can take a look so that you know exactly where they are if you'd like to do this later on. The image on the slide show the 4 sections of a sample docs project proposal template. The overview, goals, specifications, and milestones. These templates all include headings that actually will guide you through the process of planning a new project from start to finish. Your project proposal will include several categories that can help you manage the process more easily and make sure you include all the information you need. So let's look at the major components of a project plan together. For almost any project, you begin by providing an overview. This section should define what you want to do. It is It should be as specific as possible and should clearly explain the purpose of your project. All right, so once you have the name of your project and an overview of what you want to do, you can ask yourself, what are the goals of the project? Instead of thinking of one huge task like planning a wedding or designing a new product, you can use goals to break down your project to remember why you want to do it. For example, if you're starting a restaurant, one goal might be to make fine dining accessible to more people. You might want to offer a place for people to gather with their friends and family. Let's say if you're looking to start a hair salon, one goal might be to help people feel more confident about themselves, or another goal might be to create a new hairstyle trend. If you're a musician and you're making an album, one goal might be to write a new kind of song you've never written before. Or even another goal would be to collaborate with an artist that you admire. These goals are not the same as tasks, though, right? For example, a goal of your project is not to send an email to the landlord of your hair salon. We'll get to tasks in a moment, but when we start thinking about how to track your project over the long term. But for now, think of your goals as part of the motivation for taking on your project. Next, you want to add specifications to explain the parameters for your project. For example, how many people does it involve? Where will the project take place? When you have your goals in mind, you can start to plan out milestones. A milestone is a significant event that marks progress towards an overall goal. Milestones are a great way to keep your project on track. You can set these milestones to evaluate the progress, share your results with other people, engage whether you need to make any changes as you complete your project. For example, if you're starting a hair salon and one goal is to help people feel more confident, one milestone might be to find a space that's warm and welcoming. Or a later milestone might be to eventually get a thank you note from one of your clients. Let's take the album example, right? If you're making your own album, one goal, is to collaborate with another artist you admire, right? One milestone might be writing a recording of a song with that person. So each project proposal in the template gallery will include these major categories, but they may be laid out differently. The images on the slide show 3 project proposal templates. The sections of the templates are identical, but each template uses different colors and fonts. Each template has a unique design, and you can customize the templates with new headings and additional information. You don't have to use a template like this, but structuring your plan using similar categories will help you to stay on track and share your vision. You don't have to choose a project proposal right now. We just wanted to get a feel for how this document could help you to organize your thoughts about a project. If you wanted to get anyone else involved in your project, you'll need a charter or a plan like this one. Stakeholders and investors will definitely want to see that you have a clear idea of your project scopes, goals, and of course, measures of success. Planning your project is the first part of making it successful. A project plan helps you to cover the big picture topics and identify those end goals. You might share this plan with your team, stakeholders, and investors. But now we're going to focus on the second phase of project management, which is tracking progress. To track progress, you have to consider these 3 things. What are the tasks that need to get done? By when they need to get done, and of course, who is in charge of those tasks. To keep track of all this, most project managers use a project tracker. This slide shows a completed project tracker in a spreadsheet. The main purpose of a tracker is to shift from the big picture of a project plan, outline of the purpose, resources, and people, to the actual tasks and requirements of accomplishing the project. You might have already set goals in your project proposal to identify your objective or the result you want to get from your project. It can help you work towards your goals by breaking them down into manageable tasks. For example, if you want to start a restaurant that makes fine dining more affordable for more people, Then one task might be designing a menu. Another task might be finding affordable vendors that help you keep your costs low. A tracker helps you to tackle these items while keeping in mind the big picture of where you want to go. You can use it to find any relevant information for each task and to measure your progress along the way. Most projects have a lot of tasks to track. You might set up a spreadsheet differently from one project to the next, but most projects have some basic elements you might want to track. Like we said before, tasks, who's responsible for those tasks, and the due dates. Just like you saw with the project plan, there are lots of spreadsheets that can help you to track the details involved in the project. This slide shows Google Galleries sheets and the actual templates available for you. With the project tracker, we started with a document template. There are lots of spreadsheet templates for project management as well. To look at the templates available for project management, you want to navigate to the template gallery in Google Sheets. The images on this slide show the steps for opening a new project management template. Starting at your drive, you create a new Google Sheet and then choose a new template. And here's how you do this. So first you click New, right? And then you click Google Sheets from a template. And then you scroll down until you see the project management templates. I'm going to walk you through a few of these templates and their potential uses. Don't worry about starting one right now. You can always create one later. It will save automatically in Google Drive. And then, of course, you can edit it at any time. All right, so let's take a quick look at a few template examples. The image on this slide shows an event marketing timeline template. You might use this spreadsheet to manage a project that involves a lot of marketing or public-facing tasks. You can track social media posts, market research, and types of advertising using the categories built right into the template. And the spreadsheet includes a visual representation of different phases so you can time your marketing properly. You can use the template to track which social media ads were most useful or to coordinate content across multiple platforms. If you want to track an entire project, like a product launch, you might use this spreadsheet called Project Timeline. The image on the slide shows a project timeline template. Like the previous template, it includes a visual timeline, which you can see on the right. And it includes sections that lay out the life cycle of a product launch timeline. This one allows you to build in the project plan as part of the whole process. And it gives you some structure for the project, even reminding you to do a post-mortem debriefing to discuss how the whole thing went. For projects that are more focused on budgets and data, you can use a project tracking spreadsheet, like the one shown on this slide. It includes columns for estimated costs and time. And it has a built-in column for tracking a task priority with useful drop-down lists. You can use the features in this spreadsheet, like formulas for hours and budgets spent, to track your spending on a project. Finally, Gantt chart, like the one in the Gantt chart template displayed on this slide, combines many of these elements. A Gantt chart is a tool that organizes tasks by date. And Gantt charts are useful for showing the relationship between the many moving parts of a project. This one also shows different owners. It can help you to manage a project with multiple collaborators. Notice that this one includes formatting like color code in the middle. These cells that change color based on how far along a project is. A completed task is bright green, but in progress ones are lighter. So you can immediately see how much progress you've made on a particular task. This tool is called conditional formatting, and we'll show you how to do this yourself if you want in part 2 of this workshop. These templates all have similar parts, and you can edit them to fit your needs. Each one will probably include the status of a project, priorities, start and end dates, or deadlines, descriptions of the task, and perhaps additional notes. even the task owners, right? The type of project tracker you will use depends on your personal preference and the kind of project you're working on. So don't feel that you have to use a Gantt chart for every single project. If it's overkill for what you're looking to do, use one of the other templates or even create your own. Okay, so in this section of our workshop, we will actually complete a sample tracker from a new blank sheet. First, we'll go over some spreadsheet basics. Then I'll show you some spreadsheet tools you can use to manage your project, including things like formatting cells to make your tracker clean and consistent, grouping columns and rows, and adding columns and checkboxes. You can create your own tracker for all these elements, no matter what stage you are in your project. Okay, so to build a customized tracker, we're going to do a sample project, right? The images on this slide show a user's computer screen as they create a new blank template and then they rename it. Our example will be starting a new farm-to-table restaurant. Our example before, that farm-to-table restaurant batch. I'll use this example as we build our tracker, but you can, of course, apply these skills and concepts to any project that you are currently working on. All right, so first things first, you want to create a new blank spreadsheet and then give it a title. So in your Google Drive, you want to click New, then select Google Sheets and Blank Spreadsheet. Your blank spreadsheet will open. Now rename it by clicking the words Untitled Spreadsheet in the upper left-hand corner, and then type in your new title. You can call it something you can easily find in your Google Drive. So name it whatever you want. In this case, we've named our project tracker after our restaurant. You might use other terms appropriate to your project like wedding, plan, tracker, job application process, whatever project you're currently working on. All right, use the first row of your spreadsheet to organize the information contained in that sheet. That way you can easily glance at the sheet to check it and check in on how things are going. To start, include some basic categories as column headings. So let's start with tasks. The animation on the right shows the user creating a column for tasks, then they list 5 tasks. You can do the same yourself. List at least 5 tasks that need to be completed for this project to meet its goals and fulfill its purpose. It's okay if these tasks aren't in order right now. We'll talk about ways to arrange them later. Listing these tasks can help you to break a project into large components and then into smaller ones. Now let's label columns that will help you to manage how long a project takes. Create a column headings for the date a project starts and for its due date. The animation on the right shows the user creating 2 new column headings, start date and due date. Then the user records dates to match the tasks already listed. Enter the dates when you plan to begin and end each of these tasks. You can also format these columns so that the dates all look the same. The images on this slide show the numbers being formatted as dates. To do this, first highlight the cells that contain the dates, and then open the format menu and choose number and date. You can change the arrangements of the date as well. Whenever you type in a start date or a due date, this format will keep things looking consistent. Now let's create 2 more columns. The animation on the right shows a user creating a new column heading for owners and notes. First, add a heading for the owner of the task, the person who's taking responsibility for it, and add a description area to record additional information. These categories are the major aspects of your project that you can update and track. To make the spreadsheet easier to read, bold the first row. You can create headings for any other information you might need to track as you work on this project. Our project tracker contains just a few tasks, but depending on the size and purpose of the project, a tracker could list hundreds of tasks. To make it easier to navigate a spreadsheet with lots of data, you can freeze the top rows. Freezing a row or a column will help to keep certain information visible no matter how big your spreadsheet gets. You can freeze just one row or a group of rows, like all of the column headings. The image on this slide shows the steps for freezing a row. First, you select a whole row. Then open the View menu and choose Freeze, and then one row. And if you end up including extra header rows like some templates do, you can freeze a selection of rows at the top. Now the heading will stay visible as you scroll down your tracker. You can make this header row stand out even more by adding formatting, like bold or even a background color. The animation on this slide shows a user bolding the text and adding fill color. Select the first row, then bold it, and then now you can add the fill color to make it visually distinct from the rows that contain your tasks. If you want, you can also increase the size of the text to make the spreadsheet easier to read. Great. We've just listed tasks in whatever order we thought of them, right? But going forward, you might want to group these tasks under different categories. For example, if you're working on a multi-stage process like starting a restaurant, you might have several related tasks. If you need to find a location, acquire a loan, and order a sign, you might group all these tasks under a category like set up the venue. You might group other tasks like interviewing chefs, creating a shopping list, and testing dishes, all under a category like developing the menu. Grouping tasks together in this way can make it easier to prioritize them. The animation on the right shows a user moving rows in the spreadsheet. So, let's start by arranging tasks. To see tasks in an order they should be done, you can move those rows. So first, you would double click on the row. So click on the row twice until you see a small hand icon that indicates you've grabbed the row. Then you can basically click and hold on that to move that row up or down, depending on where you want to move it. In this case, you can move the rows to group all your tasks together. As you move the row, you'll see a little horizontal guide letting you know where that row will drop when you release the click. Now your tasks are now your tasks are in logical order. Next, let's look at ways to make it easier to handle them. You may want to focus on some of them in particular. To go back to your restaurant example, you might want to focus on setting up your location before you think about the menu, right? Or you might want to complete tasks from both of those milestones, but you might want to focus on a few at a time. Another tool that can help you understand your tracker quickly is grouping rows together. The animation on the right shows the user adding new rows and then typing category titles into those rows and formatting those rows. So to do that, first you would add new rows between your tasks to explain their category. For example, if your project is a job hunt, you might want to group tasks like sending your resume to your career coach, revising the resume. They could be under a category called getting resume in shape. To make these categories headings stand out, add text and formatting color like we did before for the heading. Notice that you can see it becomes easier to glance at your spreadsheet and understand how these tasks are all related. Let's use another tool to make the spreadsheet easier to read and use. We've already created categories for tasks. Now group the tasks under that row. The animation on the right shows a user selecting multiple rows that contain related tasks. You can select a row that contains the task in a single group. To select multiple rows at once, you would hold the Shift key on your keyboard and click on each row number. And then once you have all the rows selected, you can right-click with your mouse and then choose Group those rows. An icon appears, which allows you to quickly hide the rows or expand them to see all of the useful details that they contain. All these tools help you to keep your spreadsheet looking uniform and easy to read. If other people are going to be using your spreadsheets too to track those tasks, this is especially important. To set your mind at ease once a task is complete, you can add a column of checkboxes. You can use checkboxes to alert yourself or anyone else who uses your tracker that the task has been taken care of. To do this, you can add a new column labeled complete, right? The animation on the right shows a user completing the steps to add a column. So you select an open row or even a fresh column if that makes more sense. And then you add a column of checkboxes here to track when the tasks are complete. To do this, you select the row where you want the checkboxes to appear. Then open in the insert menu from the toolbar and then choose insert and then checkbox. And of course, make sure that you've either labeled that row or column as complete, right? So this column adds basically a useful visualization to your tracker. So you can easily see what still needs to be done and what's already been completed. All right, so we've addressed the first two parts of project management. How to plan a project from its outset, and then how to track it if you're working on it. But you also may be managing other people, and you might need to share your results with stakeholders and investors too. Sharing starts when the project starts, working with your team to develop the project objectives, the project goals and milestones, help them to feel more invested in the process, and of course they can give you great ideas along the way. When team members help to create tasks and deadlines, they'll be more likely to give input in the process. They'll feel ownership over it and be more responsible for completing those tasks. Even if you develop the project plan and inside the tasks on your own, it's still important to communicate with your team regularly. Digital collaboration is an easy thing to do with Google Docs or even in Sheets or Slides. In this last section of the workshop, we'll take a look at how to share a document or spreadsheet and how to share feedback quickly using comments. So to start collaborating digitally with your team, give them access to important files. You can share any Google document, spreadsheet, or presentation with other people, and you can choose how much they can do with it. This slide shows how to share a project tracker with a teammate. So first you would click share in the upper right-hand corner, then type that person's email address. If you want them to only see the progress of that project, you might give them viewer access. Investors and stakeholders may only need to be able to see and add comments, so you give them comment-only access. If you want a teammate to update the sheet with their progress, they may need edit access. When you share the document, you and your team can collaborate digitally at the same time on your project. They can open a spreadsheet on their own computer or device, and you can also simultaneously make edits from anywhere in the world. Using comments in a project tracker is another way to give your team input on the overall goal. The animation on the right shows the user selecting a cell in the spreadsheet tracker. They insert a comment, type a short message, and mention the teammate. They then assign the comment to that teammate. To add a comment, you select a place where you want the comments to appear. And then you, of course, type in those comments. If you want to direct your comment or question directly to a team member, you can plus them in by adding a plus sign before their name and then typing in the comment. If you want to turn the comment into an action item, you can click on assign to assign that comment to that team member. You can also use this feature in other Google apps, like Docs, to work collaboratively with big groups of people. You can communicate regularly with teams to unblock them to make sure they're not hung up on a particular challenge, and to let them know of any changes on the project goals or its processes. Checking in with your team, even if it's briefly, can help you to anticipate any possible challenges and adjust your schedule accordingly. So the image on this slide shows a completed spreadsheet tracker in Google Sheets. As your project grows, the spreadsheet will too. You can use this tracker as a hub for your own planning, and your team can access it so they can communicate and track multiple tasks. You may also find that your goals, objectives, and milestones change as a project progresses. You can update your digital project plan anytime and from any device to keep it current and complete. All right, so in this workshop, we focus on the three main phases of project management: planning, tracking, and sharing. We got more in depth with a spreadsheet tracker that you can customize with group tasks drop-down menus, and even some collaboration. You've learned how to collaborate with others by sharing files. There are many other digital tools that you can use to help manage projects. We've already mentioned project plan templates in Google Docs. You could also create a status update presentation in Google Slides to keep your stakeholders informed. Each of these programs has dozens of templates you can explore for all different kinds of personal and professional projects. If you want to get more in depth with our tracker, definitely check out part 2 of this workshop. Track your project with Google Sheets. You can keep building on this project and adapt even more spreadsheet tools to make your tracker work for you. All right, managing a long-term project takes a lot of input and organizational skills. To help, we've compiled digital resources that can make your projects more efficient, organized, and effective. Next, I'll share some of the Google training resources that you can access remotely. There are many different learning paths and options, so we'll talk about these tools and you can determine which one makes the most sense to help you manage any kind of personal or professional project that you're currently working on. Okay, so today we touched on a few collaboration features Google has to offer. To get more in-depth training on these tools, you can complete applied digital skill lessons to build more Google Workspace projects for work, for school, and even at home. Applied Digital Skills is an online platform for digital learning that offers free video-based learning for learners of all levels. If you want to sharpen your business and marketing skills, check out Primer. This is a free app that you can download to your phone. If you have an Android device, you can download it today at Google Play. If you have an Apple device, you can download it from the Apple App Store. This is just a series of short, fun lessons that are like 5 minutes each. Definitely check out Primer. Grow your skills no matter where you're located through our online workshops. You can learn the skills that can help you stay connected and productive while working or managing a business remotely. If you're curious about the workshops that you can take virtually from home, visit g.co/growandair for our current virtual digital skills workshops and their descriptions. If you're looking to start a new career and land a competitively paid job or build skills to grow your career, check out Google Career Certificates. Google Career Certificates can give you a path to an in-demand jobs with top employers who are currently hiring. You can earn a certificate to prepare for a new career in a high-growth field in under 6 months, even if you don't have relevant experience. Learn at your own pace and complete the online program on your own time. We currently have certificates available for IT support, project management, UX design, data analytics, and Android development. To get started, check out grow.google/certificates. All right, so let's regroup and talk about your next steps as you start to continue your projects. We want you to leave this workshop with a clear sense of what you should do next. So here are a few ways to move forward. You build the project proposal from Google Docs. Use the proposal to lay out your project's goals, milestones, and specifications. To manage your tasks and collaborate with your team, create a basic project tracker from Google Sheets. You can also check out the templates available to see if any of these fit your project. You can add tasks, you can group your tasks, and create categories that help you break down that project. To customize your tracker and make it even more useful, you can add formatting like bold text. You can do checkboxes to tell when those projects tasks are complete. And of course, you can share your tracker with business partners, teammates, and stakeholders. To continue growing your career in other ways, consider other professional workshops. These courses help you to work, teach, and learn from anywhere. All right, so here are all the resources we mentioned in today's presentation. Check out these websites for more in-depth information on what I've covered today. Okay, this wraps up the presentation portion of today's workshop. Now give us a few moments to pass it off to Anna, who will answer some of the questions you've submitted today. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Basim. Hey, everyone, I'm Anna Grimes. I'm excited to answer a few of the questions that you've asked throughout the session. And as usual, we've received quite a few of them. Now, remember, if we don't get to answer your question here live, we'll be going back and answering all questions on the Grow with Google On Air page below the virtual event shortly after it concludes. All right, let's dive in. My first question comes from John. John asks, can I move around groups of rows instead of just one row at a time? Great question, John. Yes, you can click and drag on the row numbers of the rows that you actually want to move. Once they're highlighted, you can hover your mouse over any of the selected rows. You will notice your mouse pointer will actually change from a pointer to a hand. You can then click and drag any of the selected row numbers and drag the group of rows up or down. You can see a black indicator that shows you where those rows will be inserted after you actually release your mouse. Okay, our next question comes from Pamela. Pamela asks, what's a good source for images to use in my presentation? Pamela, the best source of images for your presentation is always going to be your own personal images. You won't have to worry about any permissions if it's an image that you took or created. Now, if you don't have any of your own images, you can source images from royalty-free websites by just doing a simple Google search for something like royalty-free images. Royalty-free just means that those images don't require any sort of payment or attribution for their use. Okay, my next question comes from Hugo. Hugo asks, I usually forget to create a project proposal and I move straight to project tracking. Do you think it's worth going back and creating a proposal even though I've already started working on the tasks? Another great question. Thanks, Hugo. This will depend on your project, but most of the time we would recommend going back and creating even just a simple proposal. Having goals, milestones, and specifications actually written out always helps you to keep focused on what you need to do and where you need to go with that project. You may also realize that you need to tweak some milestones or even some of the goals because of unexpected challenges that come up through the life of the project. It's also helpful to have that proposal on hand to just keep track of those changes. Okay, my next question comes from Anna P. Anna P asks, sometimes the text that I write in the cell is too long for the cell in Google Sheets. How do I adjust it to make it all fit neatly? Something that is a really important thing to keep in mind. Thanks, Anna. You can use one of the following tips to fix that text. If you want that entire text to show up in the cell, go select that cell, then go to Format, Text Wrapping, and then Wrap. If you'd like just part of that text to show up in the cell, but you want to keep the full content in there, maybe you have a larger amount of content that you want to include in the cell and you just want it to have sort of a preview of what you're writing in that cell, you can go up to, you can select the cell first and then go up to Format, Text Wrapping, and then Clip. You can also adjust the rows and columns in the cell just to manually fit your text. And you can do that by going to the line between the column up at the top that you're trying to move, click on that line, drag it left or right, and then the same for the rows on the left-hand side. Okay, my next question comes from Stephanie, but I noticed that a couple of you asked this in the chat today. So when I click on New and then on Google Docs, I don't get the option to click on a template. There is something really specific here that we need to do when it comes to our Google Docs. So you're going to go up to New at that top left-hand corner in your Drive. Then you're going to actually, when it shows Google Docs or Google Sheets, you're going to click on the little arrow next to it, and that brings up a sub-menu. And then instead of actually selecting a blank doc or sheet, you're going to select from a template, which is going to bring up that template gallery. I also noticed that someone in the chat asked about the fact that they couldn't see all of the templates that were available. Now, if you're part of a larger organization, you may have two different sections of templates. One that is created by your organization that may have templates that are specific to your company. Now, that's probably where it's going to default. So if you pull up from a template and you only see a blank section for different templates, you may need to click up at the top where it says General, which is going to show you all of those Google templates that are available to you. All right, so those are all of the questions that we're answering for today. Thank you so much for joining us for Create a Project Plan with Google Sheets. Hopefully you all learned a little something new. Now, don't forget to tune in for the second part of this workshop. This is only part one. We're going to be launching that tomorrow at the same time as today, and it's called Track Your Project with Google Sheets. You can register for that session at g.co/growonair. Now, you can find all of our follow-up resources on the same page that you're watching in the Resources tab below the video player. You can also access a recording of today's session by also going to g.co/growonair and clicking on demand. We'll also be sending a follow-up email with a survey for you to fill out regarding your experience in the virtual workshop today. It's so important to us that we get feedback so we can quickly improve these sessions and offer content that is most helpful for you and other learners. So please take a few minutes to fill that out. And again, thank you for joining us here at Grow with Google. We will see you next time. Hopefully, we'll see all of you tomorrow.